Hello, true duelists. My name's Craig Fee, and welcome to the new card report. What am I doing with my hands? Have you had enough of the new cards from Age of Overlord this week? Don't you worry, there's plenty more to come soon enough. But for the sake of variety, have a new card report going over cards from Valiant Smashers instead. Yes, the first of the new archetypes have been revealed from our upcoming deck build pack, this one giving us spooky skeleton versions of some of the oldest monsters in the game. The Memento archetype is the current translated and unofficial name, and we start first with the real Big Chungus. Please kill me, I said that out loud. Memento al Teculika, the Nether Skull Dragon. Reading is not my strong suit, is a level 11 Earth Worm with 5,000 attack and defense. Somewhat validating my Big Chungus joke, however, I will need to be taken out back and shot as punishment. It's just the way you deal with fucking Redditors. Whatever. Oh, Reddit's a play. I'm done with the bit. The big dirty beady here cannot be normal summoned or set, needing to be summoned by shuffling 5 differently named Memento monsters from your hand or grave back into your deck or extra deck, which is an interesting inclusion in the card text. As for its effects, if you control no other monsters, it's able to attack the opponent's monsters once each, and once per turn if your opponent activates a card or effect, you can special summon a Memento monster from your hand or grave. It's a shame its effects kinda conflict with each other, but it's a 5k beater that technically can help you swarm. So that's still a 5k beater that can help you swarm. If this deck has an even halfway decent, means to get monsters in the grave and all that jazz, this might be some of the easiest OTK access from this set. Who knows? Just by the simple virtue of swinging with 5,000 attack. Bit beefy. It also does look fucking cool as shit, so it's almost certainly not going to be played, just the way things are, but I do want to own a copy of it regardless. So how do you follow up a 5k beater that's the start of your archetype? You might think with something akin to a Stratos, but no, Memento instead opts to go with a throwback to Tri-Horned Dragon, because it's Memento Horned Dragon. A level 8 Dark Dragon with 2850 attack and 2350 defense, this card can summon itself from your hand if you have 3 differently named Memento monsters in your grave once per turn. And if it's destroyed while on the field, it can target 3 face-up cards on the field, including at least 1 Memento card you control, and destroy them. It's a shame that it needs to target exactly 3 cards, and not up to 3. And it's also a shame that it needs to target face-up cards instead of any card on the field. So immediately you can tell that this is the type of card that if you don't have to play it, you don't play it. Which is a tragedy, because it's a sick-looking dragon, and it's a callback to a sick-looking dragon. Granted, I say that with a heavy amount of bias. We all know that the Craig Fee scale of necessary dragons seen here is quite literally limitless. Up next is a card whose name I already know I can't pronounce. Memento Tatsunuto Sho-Ego no, not at all like that. This level 5 Earth Beast has 1350 attack and 1600 defense. And the reason you don't recognize this absolute abomination of a mermaid horse is because the normal monster that this is referencing was never printed in the TCG. God, I do not like the way this card looks. It does at least have a self-summoning condition for a level 5 though, able to summon itself if you control no face-up monsters other than Memento monsters. And during your main phase, it lets you destroy a Memento monster to send Memento monsters from your deck to the grave whose total levels are equal to or lower than the destroyed monster's level. A very interesting Foolish Burial effect, and one that could validate a copy of the dragon in the deck, says my copium huffing ass. More realistically, this can destroy itself, and will let you mill a 3 and say 2 level 1s. Now, with that specific combination of monsters, do you maybe want to take a guess at what the next 3 monsters' levels are? Go ahead, take a guess. We start with the level 3 you're milling off the abomination of a mermaid horse, which is of course Memento Fairwitch. Again, a level 3 vanilla we did not get in the TCG. A dark spellcaster with 800 attack and 1000 defense, who on normal or special summon adds a Memento monster from deck to hand except for a copy of itself, and can destroy another Memento monster you control to summon a level 2 or lower Memento monster from your grave. Yeah, I don't know if you actually want to foolish that, to be honest, but you can. You can foolish the targets for this to summon back, and I'm hoping that the level 1s like to be destroyed, because as of now, it's just the dragon that likes to fucking die. Very relatable. As for this card itself, it's basically Memento Oviraptor. Not quite as good as Ovi, but it's Stratos and it pops to revive. So, Oviraptor-esque. Sturdy, some other sort of bone joke, I don't know. Bone boy, bone girl. Memento Mace is a level 1 light fairy with 2 effects. The first is actually a discard effect that's only usable if you control the big level 11 5k beater. But if you do, you can pitch this card to target a face-up monster the opponent controls and take control of it until the end phase. Why the fuck not? The other effect can be used during your main phase on the field to destroy a Memento monster you control, to add any Memento card from your deck to your hand except for another copy of itself. It's Key Mace, if Key Mace was evil. And again, it blows stuff up but doesn't really like to be blown up. I suppose that's also relatable, but it doesn't make it as good as it could be. Still, the obvious play of Witch to revive this, then use this to, say, pop Witch and search, or pop itself, it's clear enough. And it gets you the spell and trap, so you know it's good. And, you know, change of heart while you control a 5k beater. It seems unnecessary, but then again, I do support it. I can get behind this level of aggression. And the last monster we've seen thus far is Memento Goblin. A twist on Goblin Cartographer, this level 1 Dark Fiend has 400 attack and defense, and also has a discard effect that's only usable if you control the Big Dirty Beater, this time making your Memento monsters untargetable. Lord knows you shouldn't be able to target 5k beaters, am I right? Its on-field effect is to again destroy a Memento monster, but this time to foolish 2 Memento cards, with different names other than a copy of Goblin. So that's great if you've got any spell or trap in this that has any sort of grave effect, and it offers protection for when you're about to be winning or already winning because there's a 5k beater on your field. I just wish you could do more with all this destruction that's specific to Memento, but none of them seem to like being destroyed except for the dragon. That further requires you to pop more Mementos. Still, there's some spell and trap to look at, and this thing's ugly as fuck and I want it off my screen. So let's take a look at the obligatory field spell. Nether Skull Tempo, Memento-Land is the name of this field spell. Pack your bags, boys and girls, we're going to Memento-Land. It's got 3 effects. Now, the first makes it if your Memento monster battles, it's an ancient gear, making the opponent unable to use spell or trap cards until the end of the damage step. Thank you for an effect that was reasonable in 2007 and completely irrelevant after like 2011 or whenever we got Armades. That's cool. Love that War Rock tier support, Konami. The next effect is the good one, which you can tell from the hard ones per turn. And that's if a monster is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can summon a Memento monster with a lower level from your deck. So you can't force them to float at the very least. And during the end phase, this will let you set a Memento spell or trap from your grave onto your field, which isn't too bad. The first effect may as well not be there, but hey, that's just how it is in Memento Land, you know? It's a respectable field spell. I don't know what and it's especially good if the spell and trap aren't trash. So let's look at them. Memento Bone Part sets a solid enough start to their spell and trap lineup. It's a quick play spell that requires you to destroy a Memento monster, to take a Memento monster with a different name from your deck and either add it to your hand or summon it to your field in defense position. It does also have the grave effect to banish it from the grave to let one of your Memento monsters inflict piercing damage, but unless you're using that on exactly Mr. 5k, I doubt it's seeing a tremendous amount of play, because why wouldn't you just want to reset it to your field to, you know, get another E-Telly-esque effect? It's a great card so long as you never look at it, because it's got the fucking goblin on it and I hate it. But otherwise, Rhoda/E-Telly has a great activated effect, and its grave effect can be completely forgotten. Memento Boneback continues the ride, whether or not you wish to stay on it with Mr. Bones or not, and it's another quick play that can be activated if your Memento monster leaves the field by your opponent, allowing you to cheat out the 5k beater ignoring its summoning conditions. And if this card's in your grave and the opponent moves a Memento monster out of your grave, you can banish this to summon as many Memento monsters with different names from your hand or deck as possible. What the fuck? The mermaid horse continues to be better than it should be on card art. Now, it sucks that you have to, deal with the opponent and interact with them directly to a sense of negative to be able to use the first effect because, other than crashing your memento monster in, I don't see a whole lot of good use for it. You're waiting for the opponent to manipulate your board. You're letting them do plays to get out a functional vanilla on their turn. But that second effect is just fucking stupid. I cannot see it ever happening because if you read it, you're just going to be like, cool, so I'm never touching your graveyard. But it is, I suppose, bestial proof and DD Crow proof or any other sort of grave manipulation proof. It existing there protects your graveyard by itself. So there's that. Now, it encourages you to play the big dirty beater even more than just the little discard friends do. So we've got 2 traps to look at that further offer things for the 5k friend, I suppose. Memento Fracture Dance is a normal trap for the deck that requires you to control a memento monster and then allows you to target and destroy 1 card on the field. And if you've got Mr. 5k, you can destroy 1 more card as well. It's worth noting that bonus destruction doesn't seem to target as I understand it, but if that isn't enough reason for you to want to play it, maybe the second effect can entice you. Because if an attack is declared between one of your memento monsters and an opponent's monster, you can banish this from the grave to have all your opponent's monsters lose 1,000 attack until the end of the turn. But you want to play it now, huh? No? Yeah, that's understandable. Still, it is some pretty free destruction, only needing you to control a memento monster to pop any card on the field. It's decent going first, so to say. It's a little better if you got Mr. 5k and the deck clearly wants you to bring it out, but searchable disruption regardless is sometimes enough copium. By that virtue alone, it's worth a one of, right? But, Horn here using Metal Claw in the art just really isn't enough to really wow anyone, sadly, which is a really weird thing to say, but the point is this card's mid as fuck and I'm moving on to the last one. And the last card we've seen so far is Memento Cranium Burst. The single best named continuous trap to come from this set, I guarantee it. While face up, your opponent is only able to attack the memento monster you control with the highest attack, which is funny, but it's going to be the second effect that would be the reason you play it. And that is once per chain, you can lower the 5k worm's attack by 1,000 to negate a monster effect that's activated on the field. Now, is that phenomenal? It's not terrible. Once per chain is a pretty strong effect, but requiring you to have your boss monster out to negate effects after going first seems like a bit of a tall ask. If you can get it up, it's solid, since it's certainly going to be 4 negates more often than not before the opponent can run it over in battle. But again, you need 5 different names in your grave to be able to summon out Mr. 5k, and you're probably not going to be getting it out with Bone back, unless you want to play into Nibiru. But at that point, that's an insane level line of play. It's just absurd. Whether or not it's worth it to invest in all of this, I don't know. It's functionally like Apoloussa, but it's a trap card dependent version of it. So, me don't know. All in all, it's an interesting start to the deck. I believe there's still 1 more card to reveal, as is more often than not the case with deck build packs. And there's a fair chance that it's going to end up being a fusion monster, since this is a retrain of a bunch of old vanillas, and a number of the effects mention levels, so it makes the most sense for it to be a fusion. That's all going, of course, off Mr. 5k's fact that it can shuffle a card back into the extra deck as worded. It's a deck with neat art, and its style of playing is reinventing some of the oldest cards in the game to get you to bring out a 5k beater. Granted, you have to play the abomination that is the mermaid horse to do that, since you need 5 different names and there's only 5 names thus far. But a clear boss monster, some smaller ones to protect it, and a beatdown win condition, I get it. There's nothing eye-catchingly broken or anything, but it feels like a deck well suited to a specific crowd who will love it for that. And that's specifically Yugi Boomers. So, eat your heart out, Yugi Boomers. You have a new deck, I guess. Maybe. So, with all that out of the way, let's thank today's sponsor, the LIFD Magnetic Display. The best way to support my channel currently, and the true Duelist approved way, to show off all your favorite cards. Be it the archetypes you care for, your favorite anime cards, or maybe you put the Memento monsters here, but I only had one of the original vanilla since I don't own Trihorn Dragon, and 2 of them are OCG exclusives, and that little elf dude is like a world prize card. It's got 3 releases and I ain't got any of it, okay? I didn't buy the games or whatever it came from. So instead I went with what Konami would want me to do and put Tablet Blue Eyes as well. And that's what you can do. You can display every single copy of Tablet Blue Eyes that Konami prints for us, because there's like 14 a year. So however you want to do it, go ahead and pick yourself up an LIFD magnetic display, and do so using my promo code YGOStrats15 for 15% off, or have it apply automatically by clicking the link in the description of this video. That wraps it up for this. So thank you LIFD for support as always. Thank you for watching, and please, please, please subscribe to YGO Strats. I'll bring you an update every Friday as usual, just covering some of the new cards in this one. But if you do subscribe, not only will you be impressing your smoking Italian wife in a joke that is a reference to a tweet fewer and fewer people are going to get as my audience grows, but it doesn't matter, because when you hit subscribe, you immediately and certifiably become a true duelist. Now, mind you, I am saying that with the Craig Fee bias in regards to the scale of necessity to be playing dragons, which, as can... Oh, you son of a bitch.